I'd like to spend a few minutes talking about a newest addition to my shop. This is my outfeed table slash multifunction table in the Festool design. Actually, there's a lot of Festool in it. There is some Festool parts. I've been using Festool now for a little while, and especially with sheet goods when I make cabinets and such. And it's just awesome, especially the track saw when you're using that stuff. One of the things that ties everything together in the Festool system is the multifunction table. Now, I'm in a very small shop here. I don't do anything outside of my shop. Everything I do is right here. So I didn't really need the portability, and the last thing I needed was another piece of equipment in my shop that takes up room. I already had an outfeed table, so combining the two made a lot of sense. Now, when I started originally designing this, I started looking at the top itself. Now, the top itself has a lot of clamping options. Also, the holes are in such a pattern that you can use dogs on there, Quaz dogs specifically, and hold things at 90 degrees to the track, and it does things very well like that. One of the things that I was going to do is I was going to make my own top. Now, it's all about diminishing returns. Making the top, designing jigs, buying boring bits, so forth and so on. It started to add up very quickly. When I looked at the overall cost of that versus just buying the top, it made sense to just buy the top. I'm getting an MFT 1080 top, which is a little bit less expensive than the MFT 3 top. It's about the same size, and everything seems to work the same way. So let me show you some of the features of this. As I mentioned before, everything in my shop has to be mobile. I share the shop here with my wife's car when she parks it in here, which is all during the week. I have to share it with the lawnmower, riding lawnmower, and also a full complement of bench tools. So everything has to be on mobile basis, be packed up, and be ready to move. I've got a place for everything, obviously. So the way this works is I put this on here, and there's a couple holes in the back guide rail for my table saw fence. I've also put some leveling screws here so I can make sure that the top of this is flush with this. And all I have to do is just drop this down into here, and then I can attach it underneath with some locking screws. Now, these legs on here do fold up and out of the way, and they're also fully adjustable. The top on here is perfectly level and flat to my table saw top, which is very nice. One of the challenges making this was figuring out how to make these guide rails themselves. Now, there is a frame underneath here that's maple. These guide rails are maple also. The top fits down into a recess. There's some holes with some threaded inserts and cap screws holding this down, so this is fully replaceable. One of the biggest challenges was figuring out how to make these side rails again. I did buy the actual mounts for the Festool track from Festool parts. Once I got these, I basically made all the measurements here. Now, obviously, there's a T-track here, and on top that gives me a lot more clamping options other than the hole design in the top. But I also had to make it so that this would slide into here. Now, the Festool part does not fit into these T-tracks, so I had to kind of make my own design here. And what that is, here's the profile of it, makes it a little bit easier to see. Again, track here, track on top. I've also dadoed this here, and also put some shallow rabbets here on that dado. And these are just pieces of 1/8 inch aluminum. All that fits together so I can slide the mounts in for the track. Down here a little bit further, you can see where I've put some stops for the track so I can slide these on, mount the track, and get perfectly perpendicular to this. I've got both sides mounted for the track now, and it does go down very nicely. Now, this was all calibrated using a method I saw in Paul Marcel's blog, just awesome, where he talks about using setup blocks and Quaz dogs, which are these, to calibrate everything. So all I did was I put some stops on here. This goes here, and basically when I set this up, just put a couple of these in there. Now this fits in there, and again, there's no slopping at all, so I know that this fence is perfectly parallel to these holes and perpendicular to these holes. And again, that makes it repeatable and very easy to set that up. Now, one of the things that's also nice about the MFT tables is they come with a fence. That gives you a couple things. First of all, it allows you to slide sheet goods in there without using these, which is not a big deal, but what you lack with these is the repeatability, and that's the nice thing about the fence. So I kind of made my own fence using Incra T-Track Plus. Basically the way this works is, I'm just going to slide these in here. And all this is a piece of T-Track Plus. Again, I've made some special mounts for it, and they go in here. Mounted to the top track. Now I've also used some more setup blocks. Now I want to put this in here, and that's going to position this fence the specific amount away from the track, because I want to be able to use this as far as the scale goes. And I'm also going to put a couple dogs in the table. I'm going to use the same mount up rail or setup stick that I used before. Basically press these against here, make sure that's tight, and then clamp these down. And now I know that my fence is perfectly perpendicular to the track every time with no play. This is nice because, again, it'll give me a little bit of repeatability. I've also put a flip stop on the track, and I can set this basically anywhere on here. I have up to about 56 inches of repeatability on here. So if I put this here at, let's say, 24 inches, lock it down, and then grab my 24-inch measure, set it there, bring this down. This is perfectly flush to where the sacrificial strip is on my track. So I know this is going to be 24 inches, and again, it's all about repeatability and accuracy. So this worked out very well. So that wraps it up. Again, I got all the functionality of an MFT3 with the exception of the portability. But other than that, it works basically the exact same way. I did spend less money on this than I would have if I bought an MFT3. But again, it wasn't about the money. It was about making sure I had something that tied into the rest of the festival ecosystem and also fit my specific needs in my shop. Which again is a small shop and mobility inside the shop. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. Thanks for your time.